Shinji gets picked up by a woman he doesn't know to go and meet a father he hasn't seen in years. It could perhaps be to Shinji almost gets hit by missiles, stepped on by a creature he's never seen, and almost blown up by an M2 mine. Shinji stands before his father. His father is cold, commanding, and unreadable, and then he asks him to pilot a monster he's never heard of. Shinji refuses, because of course he does. He's scared, he's just a child. A broken and beat up girl is wheeled out to take Shinji's place, and then an earthquake knocks her from a stretcher and she's on the ground in pain. Seeing this, Shinji says yes, and he climbs into the thing. After a few minutes, he thinks he might understand it. He thinks he might be getting you. He immediately stumbles and falls, his arm gets completely mangled, and he gets stabbed in the head. Shinji screams. Evangelion is not a story about robots and fighting, it just wears the mask of a story about robots and fighting. Behind the steel and battle is a story about people, the kinds of people who smile through numbness, speak through silence, and run from the only thing they truly want: to be seen. It is not a story about angels, it is a story about what they leave behind. The impact craters we carry inside us, the empty spaces where love should be, the quiet war between wanting to be alone and praying someone notices that we simply are. Evangelion doesn't offer answers, it offers mirrors, and most of them are cracked. This world is built on trauma, maintained through denial, and powered by children who were never allowed to be children. Shinji Ikari is not a hero. He is a boy handed a monster and told that if he bleeds enough, maybe someone will love him. But he's not alone. There's Rei, the girl shaped like an idea. Asuka, the voice that shouts so loud it almost drowns out fear. And Misato, the adult who never got to stop being a child. Each of them trapped, not in Tokyo 3, not in the Eva units, but in themselves. And every angel they face is just another shape their pain takes. The world of Evangelion doesn't begin, it restarts. 15 years ago, before the story, the world ends. A cataclysm they call the Second Impact wipes out half of humanity in a single burning moment. The oceans boil red, the sky forgets how to be blue, and somewhere in the silence that follows, the future starts ticking towards its own funeral. What's left of humanity crawls underground, they build cities beneath cities, walls behind walls, but the real damage isn't measured in rubble, it's measured in people. This is Tokyo 3, not a city, it's a coffin waiting for its occupant. And it's the center of nerve, a cold, clinical sanctuary of wires, monitors, and people who don't look each other in the eyes. This is where they prepare for the next disaster by building another one. The Eva units, titanic biomechanical gods strapped with wires like they are prisoners instead of protectors. And piloting them? Children. Children like Shinji Ikari, who is called by a father he hasn't seen in years, not to catch up, not to reconnect, but to pilot a weapon, to bleed for a world that has never asked how he is doing. Then there is Rei Ayanami, a girl who seems like she was born in grayscale. Her eyes never flinch, her voice never rises. She isn't mysterious, she's empty, and somehow even that is by design. Asuka Langley Soryu arrives like a flame, confident, brilliant, loud enough to fill every silence Shinji won't. But it's not arrogance, it's armor. And Misato Katsuragi, their guardian, their commander, their mess. She drinks too much, laughs too loudly, and hides the war inside her behind every casual smirk. Together, they form the cast of Evangelion. but they are not a team. They are a collection of fractures stitched together by circumstance and the machinery of adults who call it saving the world. Pain doesn't just live in people. In Evangelion, pain walks, it speaks, it screams through impossible forms and impossible logic, and they call it an angel. Not holy, not merciful, just something vast and unknowable, like grief that learned how to punch. Every angel is different, a spiral of light, a floating cube, a living shadow, a mirror. Each one is a confrontation. Not just with destruction, but with the people sent to stop it. The pilots don't just fight these things, they are changed by them, and not always in ways they survive. But to understand what angels are, you have to go further back, before the second impact, before Tokyo 3, back to two names that sound like myth, but they are terrifyingly real: Adam and Lilith, the first two seeds of life. In Evangelion's world, Earth wasn't meant to have two of them: Adam, the father of the angels, Lilith, the mother of mankind. Two gods, one planet, and humanity? A cosmic accident. The angels are Adam's children, humanity are Lilith's. And when they meet, they don't talk, they try to erase each other. That is the war beneath the war. It's not just man versus monster, it's an ancient inheritance, a birthright of extinction. And the final twist, humanity, is technically the 18th angel, the last one, the broken one. The only species that builds its own extinction with clean hands and good intentions. Evangelion isn't about saving the world, it's about what it costs to try. At the center of all the pain, all the battles, all the broken children is a plan. A quiet one, built in the whispers and funded by dead men. It's called the Human Instrumentality Project, and its goal is simple: end individuality, end suffering, end humanity. Seal, the secret counsel behind it all, believes humanity is flawed, too divided, too afraid, too broken to go on. Their answer? Merge every human soul into one being. No secrets, no loneliness, no pain. Just one consciousness. Forever. A hive mind disguised as salvation. A forced connection built from fear of being alone. They say it's evolution, but it sounds a lot like surrender. And then there is Gendo Ikari, Shinji's father. He agrees with Seal, but only until he doesn't. Gendo doesn't want to merge with everyone. He wants to cheat the system, to use instrumentality not for peace, but to see Yui, Shinji's mother, again. To fill the hole inside him, even if he has to burn the world around it. His love becomes a weapon, his grief a blueprint, and he's willing to sacrifice everything, including his son, to make it happen. But instrumentality only works with two things: Rei, the clone of Yui, with the soul of Lilith, and Shinji, the boy no one asked if he was okay. Shinji becomes the key, not because he's brave, not because he's strong, but because he's the most human thing in the entire story. Scared, lonely, desperate to be loved. In the end, the decision isn't made by Seal or Gendo or any god. It's made by a child who was never given a chance to be one. In Evangelion, the end of the world doesn't happen once, it happens again and again. Each time more abstract, more spiritual, more personal. They are called impacts, and they are not just explosions. They are the universe pulling a mirror in front of humanity and asking, "Are you sure you want to keep going?" The second impact, the first apocalypse, a man-made disaster disguised as a natural one. They told the world it was a meteor. It wasn't. It was the attempt to control a god. Adam gone wrong. Half the world dies. The ice caps melt. Society breaks. In the ruins, something worse is born. Nerve. The third impact. This is where the world ends. Not just physically, philosophically. The soul of humanity is cracked open and poured into a single moment. It happens at the end of Evangelion. Unit 1, Shinji, Rei, Lilith. All merge. Not by force, but by choice. If you cannot love yourself, why should the world love you back? That is what the third impact is. A nervous breakdown on a planetary scale. Everyone dies, or becomes one, or maybe something in between. It's beautiful, it's horrifying, it's honest. And then Shinji makes a different choice. To come back, to try again. The fourth impact. Only in the Rebuild movies. This is not a retread, but a rebellion. This time it's not about ending the world, it's about rewriting the rules of reality itself. Time is flexible. People remembered lives they never lived. Evangelion becomes self-aware. A story about Evangelion, told by someone who is tired of it. It's Hideki Anno's goodbye letter, not just to the series but to the pain that created it. Where the third impact asks, what if the world ended because you couldn't love yourself? The fourth impact asks, what if you could finally learn how? Each impact is more than a plot device. It's a metaphor for breaking down. And maybe building yourself back up. And in the middle of each one, a child screams into a world that refuses to understand them. Sound familiar? There are crosses in the sky, dead seas parting, monsters with halos, and a machine that bleeds like a mother. Evangelion is drenched in religious imagery, but none of it's literal. It's not theology, it's myth repurposed. To ask a question no religion has ever been comfortable with. What if God is just what's left of you when everything else is gone? The crosses, not salvation, they're death markers. Proof that something once tried to be holy and failed. The tree of life, not divine order, it's evolution as control. Humanity trying to force transcendence. Even the name Evangelion means gospel. But it's a gospel where no one is saved unless they do it themselves. But if the symbols are aesthetic and the psychology is surgical, the show is a Freudian fever dream. Shinji's longing for a father's approval, Asuka's violent defenses hiding total insecurity, Rei's identity crisis as a being without a self, and Misato clinging to sex to avoid feeling unloved. These aren't characters, they're coping mechanisms wearing skin. And at the center of all of this is a metaphor so brilliant it hurts. The AT field. A force field that keeps angels out, but more importantly, keeps people from touching each other. It's not science fiction, it's emotional fiction. The AT field is the wall you put up when you're afraid of being seen. It's the distance between you and everyone who's ever told you you weren't enough. Even the animation breaks, the final episodes, the show collapses, scenes are replaced with sketches, dialogue becomes inner monologue, reality disappears. Not because they ran out of money, but because the story had to strip everything away. To show you what hurt actually looks like. It's not explosions, it's not screaming, it's silence. And the feeling of being alone in a crowded room. Evangelion doesn't end, it fractures. TV series, End of Evangelion, the manga, the Rebuild films, each one is a different emotional lens on the same narrative core. And none of them are the right one. The original TV series, this is where it began. 26 episodes of escalating despair, philosophy, and character dissection, but it ends quietly. Not with explosions, but with Shinji inside his own mind, confronting the self he's run from. Congratulations! It's awkward, it's abstract, it's intimate, because this wasn't about saving the world, it was about saving Shinji Ikari. Then, end of Evangelion. Same ending, completely different path. The TV series was about internal acceptance, the end of Evangelion is about external rejection. The world turns on Shinji, and Shinji turns on the world. It's brutal, violent, visceral. Instead of congratulations, we get how disgusting. A bitter truth. Healing doesn't always feel good, and growth doesn't always come from love. Sometimes it comes from pain. The manga. A more grounded take. Longer, more deliberate, with characters who feel slightly more human. Shinji gets angrier, Asuka gets more vulnerable, Gendo's sins are clearer. The manga gives closure, but it never portrays the core theme. People don't need perfect endings. They need the chance to choose one for themselves. Then the rebuild films. What began as a remake slowly revealed itself to be something else entirely. Not a reboot, a loop. A retelling where Shinji remembers how it all went wrong before. Each rebuild movie peels back the curtain more and more. By Evangelion 3.0 plus 1, the characters know they are trapped inside the stories. They start making different choices, and Shinji, after countless failures, finally does what he never could before. He lets go. No giant robot battle, no bloody climax, just a train station, a sunrise, a hand reaching for someone else's. Evangelion ends by choosing to live. So which version is real? Which one matters? The answer is all of them, because each reflects a different truth. The TV series, you are not alone. End of Evangelion, the world can be cruel, but you still have a choice. The manga, you can grow through pain. The rebuild movies, you can break the cycle. Evangelion doesn't reset, it loops again and again and again. Like trauma, like memory, like regret. Across the series, End of Evangelion and Rebuilds, characters repeat behaviors, make the same mistakes, feel the same pain, and we start to ask, is this a timeline or a pattern? Some fans believe that the Rebuild films are a sequel to the original series, a post-apocalyptic afterlife of sorts. Clues do support it. Kaoru says, "This time I'll make you happy." The ruined Earth looks eerily like what it was left after the third impact. The opening of 3+1 shows the ocean turned red, a visual callback to the End of Evangelion. And then there's a big one. At the very end, 3+1, Shinji walks out of the Ava world into ours. No more angels, no more mechs, just a train platform. It's mundane, it's quiet, it's real. This meta loop idea is polarizing. Some think it's genius, others think it's pretentious, but it does something no other anime has. It lets go of itself. Evangelion doesn't end with a final battle. It ends with freedom from Evangelion. And if that's true, then every version we've seen, TV, movie, manga, rebuild, isn't meant to fix the story. They're meant to heal it. Each one asking, what if we tried again? What if we grew just a little? What if we stopped hurting ourselves? Evangelion's timeline isn't linear, it's emotional, a spiral of identity, trauma, and release. until finally a boy learns to stand and the story lets him go. Evangelion is remembered for mechs, the monsters, the mind-bending finales, but that was never the point. The point was always the people inside those machines. The boy who thinks he's unlovable. The girl who was never allowed to feel. Another who shouts because it's the only way she knows how to be heard. They weren't heroes, they were scared and broken and so human. Across every version, TV, manga, film, rebuild, the same truth echoes. The real apocalypse isn't global, it's internal. The end of the world isn't an explosion. It's a 14-year-old boy curled up in a hospital bed, too afraid to be seen. The Human Instrumentality Project, a metaphor for one thing we all want, connection, and how terrifying it is to actually have. Because what if people saw the real you and turned away? But Evangelion dares to ask a different question. What if they didn't? What if, even after all the impacts, all the pain, all the endings, you could still reach out? Not to save the world, not to fix yourself, just to try again with someone else. That is the soul of Evangelion. Not the robots, not the angels, not the theories, but a quiet hope that no matter how many times the world ends, you can always choose to begin again. Thank you for watching. If the story hit you in the heart like it did for me, if it helped you see something in yourself, you're not alone. And maybe that's what Evangelion has always tried to say. You don't have to understand everything. You just have to be here with us. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.